You and I, we have met before through the magic of a moment in cyberspace. Driven by a passion to win, playing heart to heart, face to face. The challenge of a lifetime stands before us now. Beyond the game, through the portal into cyberspace, we have come to decide our fate. We're here to celebrate beyond the game. Beyond the game, at last, the moment's at hand. All we need is to believe we can. We'll make our stand beyond the game. 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 The world's cyber game. Beyond the game. Beyond the game. Beyond the game. The world's cyber game.
Welcome to the Yongsan Esports Stadium here in beautiful Seoul, South Korea for the second semifinal day in WCG Korea 2013. I am Doa. With me is Monte Cristo, and we have an awesome match. CJ Blaze versus Najin Sword. We've seen some pretty upsetting upsets, to put it mildly, this week. I don't know what. I no more predictions. We can't even begin to imagine what's going to happen today.
No.
After yesterday, I give up.
However, we're in an interesting place between these two teams, and I'm really looking forward to these matches because these teams couldn't really be more different right now. We have Najin Shield, who has retained their roster from the last season of Champions, but they've really gelled together quite nicely. The teamwork that they displayed when they took out the Jin Air Stealths was really solid, especially in that first game. They nearly lost the second game, but in a last-second reversal of fortune, managed to pull it out of the fire.
Well, I think we can be sure either way we're going to have some really, really good games. It actually blows my mind how good the games have been all week long. We've gotten pretty lucky, and I'm sure the trend will continue today. So today, semifinal match 2, and tomorrow we get to find out who from Korea is going to represent this nation in WCG 2013 at the Grand Finals in Kunshan, China next month.
And we'll be there to cast it as well, but here's the breakdown of the tournament so far.
Yeah, that's right. As you can see, 8 strong teams starting out the week, but now we're down to just 3 left. Yesterday, Samsung Blue took out SK Telecom T1 in a pretty stunning 2-0. And I mean, it wasn't like SK T1 just like, you know, napped too long on their millions of dollars, you know, the day before and just weren't ready to play. They played well. It's just Samsung Blue straight up outplayed them. It was a great set of games.
Yeah, the second game was a little messy, but the first game, Samsung Blue just won through some beautiful rotations and closed out the game quite nicely after getting a big early lead in the laning phase.
Very cool. Today's matchup, as you can see, CJ Blaze taking on Najin White Shield in a best of 3. And the only prediction I will make today is I feel like this one is going to go to 3 games. I feel like it is.
I think that's probably likely. CJ Blaze, of course, they've made some roster changes as well. They have their new AD carry, Emperor, who performed quite nicely in the last quarterfinal match, and especially against Najin Sword, too, Prey and Kane. And Emperor and Lustboy did great in that lane. So pretty impressive stuff. And their new jungler, Daydream, who is all about that early aggression, has been loving running that jungle Aatrox with a couple of Doran's Blades to start. Now, there have been some hiccups. I feel this is the interesting situation. So while I was saying just a minute ago that Najin White Shield has a lot of team cohesion, a lot of good shot calling, and a lot of good teamwork. They're not as individually strong as Blaze. That said, so Blaze has better, I think, individual players in a position-to-position level, but their teamwork is still lacking. They're still trying to kick some of the old bad habits. In terms of over-farming, over-committing to farm, especially Ambition was in some really weird farming situations in their last series. But they are looking better, and I think that their roster changes in the long run, particularly the addition of such an aggressive early player like Daydream, will force their style to change to be more balanced toward the early game and less worried really about holding out and just farming up for the late game.
Yeah, we are kind of seeing sort of a slow 180 being done on Blaze's team style overall, but I think the point you made where Blaze is like the individually skilled team and Shield is like the cohesive, strong unit really brings an interesting dynamic to this matchup because it's the age-old, what wins out, individual skill in lane or teamwork. We're about to find out today, I think.
Yeah, and we'll have to see if Shield can play as well as they did against the Jin Air Stealths. I mean, the Stealths are an up-and-coming team for sure. Yeah. They look stronger than they did last season, but they're not a competitor at the same level of CJ Blaze. And so we'll have to see if they can survive that laning phase because now, like I said, with Daydream having a lot of pressure on those lanes early on, it does make more kill potential for CJ Blaze in the first few minutes of the game.
Yeah, we'll see. I love Daydream, man. These new aggressive players, I like how I feel like the game is becoming more aggressive as we go on. That's exactly what Dylan likes to see, Monte Cristo. So let's get a closer look at our two teams for today's match. First, you know them. Well, you know most of them. You love most of them. If you're like a fan drunk breed, you love Flame. It's CJ Blaze.
I love Flame too, duh.
All right. Maybe for different reasons. Maybe for the same reasons. I'm not going to. Who knows? But there they are. And I've got to say, I'm really happy about this Lustboy Emperor combo because Lustboy, I feel like, has been held back for quite a while by Captain Jack, and now he's finally got a carry that wants to be aggressive with him.
Yeah, I wouldn't say held back. It was just a stylistic mismatch because Captain Jack, he really likes playing safe and just farming up in lane and aiming to carry later on in the game. And Lustboy, he really likes to harass. He really likes to trade. And so Emperor looks like, after a few games that we've seen him together, a better choice in terms of that duo lane. And they did quite well against their formidable opponents in Najin Blacksword, and they have a chance to take out Sword's sister team, White Shield, here today.
We can tell this Emperor guy's got a lot of confidence too, man. That's not a title that you take on lightly in the Korean esports scene. I mean, that's the nickname they gave boxers. So if you're going to call yourself Emperor, you better come to play. And so far he has, and there at the end is Flame, of course, superstar top laner.
He's enjoying his lip right now.
He's enjoying the patch too, I bet.
That's right. I don't think we're going to see any Jaxes today. Jax bans galore.
Ban, yeah. Well, on the other side of the studio, we have Najin White Shield. And interesting to note, all three of the teams that went to the World Championships are now knocked out of the tournament as of yesterday.
Yeah, pretty stunning stuff. But I really applaud Najin White Shield for sticking with this lineup because they did show flashes of brilliance, and now we're really seeing that team synergy that they've been developing where they haven't switched out their roster pay off here, especially with Nofe. He's such a smart jungler, and the play calling has been so solid from this team so far in WCG.
Yeah, it really seems like Nofe holds the team together, and he's a good sort of solid backbone to everybody else, and it's worked out. The play calling's been great. Can they continue that streak today? Like you said, I think CJ Blaze is going to be a little bit tougher of an opponent than Jin Air Stealths were, but if they can recreate the sort of games they did a couple days ago, they should be in a pretty good spot to make this one competitive.
Yeah, that said, Blaze has looked a lot more indecisive and slower to rotate than Najin Shield. So if Najin Shield can take that map advantage, they should be in a good position to win.
We'll find out. Here we go, guys. Picks and bans for game number one. Najin White Shield versus CJ Blaze. Italy and Corky banned out right away. Who's going to ban Jax?
Yeah, the Corky ban, not too surprising. Emperor, if he gets his hand on that champion again, he's been doing really well with it all tournament. An AD carry very well situated in terms of the Trinity Force patch that we are on right now. This is the same patch that was at the World Championships. We haven't moved the tournament realm over yet. And Aatrox going down as well. They don't want Daydream to be on his preferred jungler. And the first pick of Ezreal, no surprise either. Now, Emperor has done well with Caitlyn also.
Yeah, that's true. He has been a pretty solid Caitlyn player. Remember that Lucian is not available yet on the tournament realm here in Korea. He's kind of like the other Trinity Force AD carry that we've been seeing. Samsung Blue's been using him a lot last week. That was played on the live realm, but won't see anything like that today. So Thresh and Elise, the two pickups.
Well, not too surprising. Pretty common picks for this point in time. I am a bit surprised that they went for that Thresh pick over Zyra, who is generally thought to be the strongest support. So we'll have to see what they want here. Thresh better at setting up picks, if that's the kind of composition you want to go for, and Elise also great for that same purpose.
Well, it seems like you see a lot of, it's more preference between Thresh and Zyra right now, and again, Zyra's kind of like on her own island among the support pools that we've seen here in Korea, and looks like Jarvan and Renekton, the two pickups. Renekton is super strong right now, and a good like anti-Shen we found.
Okay, well now we have the Vayne pickup as well and the Shen, so we do have a pretty solid pick and split push comp going on right now for CJ Blaze. Flame had some great taunts against Najin Sword when he picked up that Shen.
And will it be a Lulu actually? We have not seen Lulu in quite a while.
Well, if they want to go all in here, then yeah, this is...
Makes sense.
No, there we go. The Zyra pickup, perfectly fine as well. Gives you a little bit more versatility.
Yeah.
And also, both champions, however, very good at bullying during the laning phase. And Ahri was played by Goong, also against the Jin Air Stealths. So... he did pretty well on that champion. It was the game that they quite nearly lost, but it was pretty much Goong's Ahri that single-handedly turned it around by catching out the AD carry from the Stealth's Mystic while they were assaulting the Nexus.
Right. Man, that was a close game, too. What an awesome game. And I was going to say, yeah, talent unlikely Fizz, much, much more natural right now. And so Ambition will be playing the Assassin in the mid lane.
Yeah, with CJ Blaze's composition, however, it's going to be pretty difficult for them to fight 5v5s here. This is much more about small skirmishes and picks. It's a pretty dedicated pick composition.
It's a pretty CJ Blaze composition, too.
Yeah, and the reason is because they want to create picks with Shen ult, and fighting 5v5 going to be difficult because so many of their champions are squishy, and also they don't have a good way to really get Shen into the back line besides with that Elise, and that is not the most reliable form of getting Shen in.
Yep, that's right. Well, there's our rosters, and in just a moment, we'll be moving into game number 1. We'll find out if Najin White Shield can bring their A game, give CJ Blaze a run for their money, or if CJ Blaze will go on to take out Samsung Blue, or to take on Samsung Blue in the finals tomorrow. And I think it's time, guys. Our monitor's blank right now, but I'm going to assume that right now the camera is swinging its way across the audience, and that means it's about time to get into game number 1. CJ Blaze versus Najin White Shield. Let's get in the game. All right, guys, here we go. Najin White Shield moving out on the map. Their opponent, CJ Blaze. And we will find out what happens in game number 1. Sorry, a little bit distracted right now. Technical difficulties, but as long as you can see the game, we're happy.
Yeah, that's right. And so CJ Blaze's comp right here, they have, like I said, in really solid pick potential. And the laners of Najin White Shield are going to have to be very careful that they don't get caught out during the mid game. That said, Najin White Shield has a pretty solid engage advantage heading into the mid and late game if they're 5v5. So I'm liking what I'm seeing here. If Najin Shield can get their rotations down properly and group pretty early on in that mid game, I think they'll have a pretty solid edge.
Really deep wards going down.
Really deep wards, and that's an interesting one right there.
Yeah.
They're definitely making sure that they keep track of absolutely everything. We'll see what they do with this advantage, if they want the 2v2 or if they want the 2v1.
Well, they clearly have something in mind. We'll find out. I mean, it's interesting. We've seen Renekton players start to be pretty successful at bullying these Shens out in the 1v1. Do you think that's something that they're trying to avoid here, possibly?
Yeah, we'll see what exactly they do here, but it depends on the kind of Renekton build as well, because when we've seen that Tiamat first, it's been a little bit more effective in terms of bullying and keeping Shen all the way pushed up against the turret, and that makes it easy to control with Stand United where he's going to be going as well.
Right. Now Blaze coming in, now the blue buff area of Shield. And looks like they're just going to go ahead and take the blue. We'll see if Shield responds by grabbing the other one. Getting the red first for Nofe, though.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, this actually isn't too much of a tell right here, because Blaze doesn't have the wards where Nofe's not going, or where he's going to be walking. So this may leave Daydream a little bit in the dark. We'll have to see where he goes on for his next buff, and it looks like he's already turning around. You can see that Flame is mirroring so far, so he's going to be heading over to that lane a little bit late, and he shared XP with Daydream early on.
Yeah. I'm really going to be watching this mid lane matchup, man. I mean, Ambition has looked quite a bit better lately than he has of late. Moving out on Goong right now, doing some decent poke damage. Look at that. Got Goong down to about half health there. And Ambition, I mean, the kind of running joke used to be about how he always gave up first blood, and that's been kind of changed around 180 so far in this tournament.
Yeah, and look at Nofe going so deep already to push Flame out of lane right here, and that jungle presence really doing some work. Now, he did manage to get a little bit of an XP advantage because he didn't have the follow, and wow, Goong just shot his charm off in a random direction right there.
Not a lucky charm.
It was not.
Well, lucky for Ambition anyway. And Save being reduced, having to farm some wolves here.
Well, this is already a really interesting early game. We typically don't see this much action from the jungle at level 1, but this is going to cause perhaps a pretty early turret swing here in Najin Whiteshield's favor.
Man, and look at Flame. He's just given up and come up to mid lane. Gonna go ahead and give up that bot lane turret.
Well, he was seeing if he could indeed make a play right there. He's not going to be able to, but might as well, if you've got the time, try and do a little bit of something. But they're going to get the turret advantage first, and it looks like Najin Whiteshield may keep pushing. This is actually pretty reminiscent of stuff we were seeing very early on in Season 3, but hasn't really been in vogue for a while, just these three-man shoves. And a lot of the reason why the turret changes with the earlier armor came around in the first place was to prevent this kind of play.
Well, you just apparently add a third person to the lane, and then you can do it. But wasn't it Blaze who got like a 12-minute inhibitor doing something, kind of like an extreme version of this? Look
Whoa,
at this
really is actually
dragon.
crazy.
No way. I mean, you can tank a little bit with the plants from Zyra.
But this is such a smart reaction right here. Goong.
Oh, Goong. He gets away, though. Very nice. That could have been first blood, and Najin Whiteshield gets Dragon.
Now, this is a very smart use of their time. Because they had Nofe, this is a great early game plan, and this is the planning and the teamwork and the strategy that we were talking about earlier from Najin Whiteshield. So because Nofe was at the tower earlier, it helped them take down the tower faster. They then shoved up the lane to prevent the freeze because they don't want Blaze doing what they do, which is freezing a lane at second turret and just farming.
Oh, he grabbed Goong. Is this going to be first blood? Goong taking a lot of damage. Ambition going deep. Can they get him? There's Repel. Daydream comes in for the execute. He's going to pay for it, though. 1-1, but the first blood gold does go to CJ Blaze.
Yeah, I'm not sure how long the red buff had, so if it was about to expire, it was worth it. If it had a little bit of life on it, which it shouldn't have at this point in the game.
Yeah, it should have been nearly gone.
Yeah, it should have been nearly gone. So, yeah, overall, a little bit of a risky play right there. But anyway, so they shoved the lane. To go back to the other point, they shoved the lane all the way up to the second turret to make sure that there couldn't be any kind of lane freeze there from Flame, which is exactly how he likes to play. And because they were on the bottom part of the map, while CJ Blaze was doing the same thing. They used that advantage and the knowledge of where the duo lane was to take that very, very early dragon. Well played by Najin Whiteshield, and they come out with an early advantage.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, I almost wonder, and Ambition going in onto Goog again, a lot of damage, but here comes Nofe. Ambition he hasn't flashed yet. There it is. Looks like he will get away. 3 members from CJ Blaze coming up. Ooh, close call for Ambition. Had to use his flash, but it was worth it. Nofe did use his flash as well during that.
And it's worth noting, too, that all of the members of Najin Whiteshield, effectively, we've got 3 people that came back with pink wards very early on. Emperor gets caught a little bit.
Yeah, gets hit by that charm, takes some damage.
So we have very early pink wards coming into this game, and this is how they played early on against the Jin Air Stealths in their pretty crushing victory over them.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see what they do exactly with these pink wards.
Yeah, pretty much everybody on Najin Whiteshield just bought a pink ward in their last
So
batch.
early.
Yeah, I love this. This is really cool. I mean, you can tell that Najin Whiteshield has used their time well. They've developed a lot of new stuff, or a lot of tweaks on old stuff anyway. And there's that really deep vision ward by Blue. Oh man, they've got such good vision right now.
Well, they're playing this very intelligently. Now, against the Stealths, they turned the early vision. They really maximized the gold gain, or the gold that they invested into those wards by continuously making plays around the map and assisting their rotations with that vision advantage. But when you do spend like we see so many vision wards that the gold difference is actually effectively even if they don't use these vision wards well.
You know, and this really makes you wonder about that early dragon. That very early dragon gives them the gold to spend on these early pink wards, and now we'll see if they can get some sort of payoff for the vision control they've gotten now.
Well, they're starting to group mid here, and Flame and Ambition doing what Flame and Ambition do, which is empty lane farm.
Yep.
This is falling back on old habits for sure. This looks like a pretty common CJ Blaze game.
Meanwhile, we've got a 2v3 here in the mid lane. Najin Whiteshield pushing up pretty aggressively, but here comes Daydream.
You know, Doa, one of the main problems with CJ Blaze's comp in this situation is that they have virtually no wave clear. So any kind of 3-man push like we're seeing right now is very, very hard for them to deal with. And so I like what we're seeing from Najin Whiteshield. They just have to make sure they don't lose any turrets in the process.
Good point. So far so good. 1 turret down for each team, just the top and bottom turret. And Flame right now pushed really deep down the lane. You can see it on the minimap. We're not looking at it at the moment. But
yeah, and Save hasn't been really maximizing his advantage so far. He's fallen quite far behind on CS because Flame is actually empty farm bottom lane and then immediately rotated top to empty farm that lane as well.
Yeah.
Ambition.
Can he get red? He gets it.
Yeah, he may not. We'll see if he can get out of this. He will. Little bit sloppy buff control right there. Not a lot of excuses because they knew that Ambition was around there, and they've certainly got the wards to prevent that red buff.
Yeah. We'll see. Those vision wards have got to be starting to get towards the end of their life right now, too. For Najin Whiteshield.
Okay. Well, Ambition still on the hunt a little bit, but they've managed to keep tabs on him this entire time. And look at the ring of wards now. So the wards have expired in the river for CJ Blaze.
Yep.
Well, we're reaching the point where those pinks are about to go down as well.
And so far, not a ton of damage on Good Vision. That Playful Trickster helping out quite a bit. Dragging up in about a minute again. See if Najin Whiteshield can make another play.